of Follow, the founder of Follow the Money, an initiative that tracks government spending on social projects to ensure accountability and transparency. We have seen the likes of Rinu Oduala, a human rights activist and youth advocate who played a role in the NSAS movement against police brutality. However, to sustain this momentum, we must ensure greater participation of young voices in decision-making spaces, promote civic engagement, and create systems that support youth leadership and inclusion in governance. As we mark Commonwealth Day today, let's remind ourselves that democracy thrives when young people are included, empowered, and engaged. Let's also challenge ourselves to not only demand change, but to be the change through technology, activism, and innovation, which will in turn compel our participation in governance, policy making, and community development. We must rise to the occasion, educate ourselves, and hold leaders accountable. Because our young people, our time is now. John F. Kennedy, the 35th US president, says, and I quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And I say, ask not what your continent can do for you, but what you can do for your continent. The future of African democracy is in our hands. Let's lead it with courage, vision, and integrity. Finally, I welcome you all once again to this very important session, and I look forward to the insightful presentation by our facilitator. Together, let's build a stronger, more inclusive democracy for our dear continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Tasiu, for that opening remark. We are grateful and we will always strive to do better. Next on the agenda, I will call on our facilitator, the speaker for the day. Thank you once again for honoring our invitation, sir. His full name is Pritchard T. Paradzayi. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And he is a former student activist in Zimbabwe, a socio-economic justice activist, a youth activist, as well as a system dynamist and thinker. He said he doesn't want longer citations. I wanted it to be longer than this. So go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Revolutionary salutations. Can you guys hear me? Fatima,
Yes, sir,
confirm.
we can hear you. We can hear
Okay.
you.
So the reason why I don't like long citations is because where I come from, I believe that we should refer to each other as comrades, not with these long elitist titles, for they do not carry anything in leadership. They just burden the person who is introducing you. So I hope you understand me. Am I supposed to put on my video as well?
Yes, sir, if you're comfortable with that, would appreciate seeing you as well as hearing you.
Okay. Let me adjust so that I can switch on my video
All right, sir. Thank you.
because I usually stay in the dark. Can you guys see me now?
Yes, sir, we can see you.
Okay. So I believe today I'm going to be talking about youth leadership in modern day African democracies, which in of late has seen a sharp decline because typical of most African leaders, they don't want to leave their positions of power once you install them. So in our context, I believe most of us here or all of you guys are students. I believe that students are the center of revolution. Students are the center of the struggle. There is no revolution without the students. There is no, and by revolution, I do not mean violent demonstrations. I mean the revolutionarization of everything, technology, what have you, the economy. The students are at the center because the students are the barometers of class consciousness. The students are the paragons of intellectual dexterity. When you see students or the youth, you see how conscious a society is through the conversations that they have. Uh, it is said, as I've mentioned before, that as of late, we have noticed that youth leadership has been on the down rise Reason being, the voice of the youth is being thwarted by those in power, for they do not want a voice of reason, for they do not want a voice that can challenge them. But it is equally our duty as the youth to speak up and to fight, because when they went for war, they were equally our age. Our war might not be against people of a different race, but it's with people of a different age. People who believe that they are the only ones entitled to be leading Africa. A people who do not want other people to raise their voices. I was reading through some text recently, and I noticed that there were 5 students in Zimbabwe who were suspended because they were recruiting other student leaders into the student movement, only for one of them to be expelled school because he was recruiting, not because he was leading a demonstration, no, but because he was leading in recruitment, trying to find new leaders who are going to replace those who are there. And it's not only in Africa where student freedom or academic freedom or youth freedom is being trampled upon. In the United States of America recently, there was a group of students who were advocating for student rights, which was suspended from school as well. So as it stands right now in the world, we face a challenge wherein democracy is being used as a banner to advertise and cover for dictators. Student leaders and youth leaders cannot voice out because as soon as they voice out, they will be thrown into the dungeons of terror, what they popularly call prisons. So it is with great honor that I am here with you guys. I'm really honored that you called me to this podium. Reason being, it will start a synergy of ideas on how best we can tackle the ageist and genocentric leadership that is there in Africa right now. I think there's someone with a mic that is giving feedback. Okay, Glad.
Kindly carry on, sir. I will mute them right away. Thank you.
I think it's Gladys Obasi. I've muted her. So I was saying, when I was still a student leader, I still believe that I'm still a student leader at heart, because once a student leader, always a student leader. There was a popular quoting that we believed in, which said, students world over are known for initiating and executing revolutions. And Africa is not an exception. So, what does that entail? It means that students and youths are supposed to be radical about change. Radicalism does not only entail going into the streets and demonstrating, it means also being innovative with our ideas. As the youth, we should foster new technologies. We should foster new ways of making money. We should foster in new ways of unity. As the youth, we should push that our voices can be heard. But it's unfortunate that in this modern day Africa, there are a few corrupt individuals which the youth are looking up to as well, and this is bringing about division in the youth. It is even more sad that most of these people are not as educated as some of the youth. So we go back to what Thomas Sankara says. When Thomas Sankara was a youth, he himself said, an uneducated soldier, I will replace soldier with youth. An uneducated youth is a potential criminal. What I'm trying to say is, as the youth of today, we need to conscientize so that the youth will understand what democracy entails, what leadership entails, what development entails. Because democracy, by definition, is the majority rule. And the youth are the majority of most countries in Africa, most countries in the Commonwealth. We have what we call a pyramidic population. Unlike other Western countries wherein they have an aging pyramid, so it's inverse, they have more adults than they have youth. So as long as the youth are not leading, we are not yet in a democracy, because what majority are they defining and what majority are they using if the youth are not in positions of influence? Even in 1976, during the Soweto uprising, it was the youth and the students that led the Soweto uprising against apartheid. Let's be clear, it was not a fight against the white person. It was a fight against the idea propelled by the white person. As the youth, we are supposed to fight ideas, not individuals. But if the individual is being used as a canvas or as a casing for an idea, the youth should not hesitate to fight them. And the youth should always be united. In my country, we believe that if we see one of our own in a fight, we will join in the fight only to ask him later, but why were we fighting? Because that's what the old people also do. They unite and fight the youth. And sometimes they never ask why, but because of age, they unite and fight us. So as the youth or the modern day youth, if we can't then unite amongst ourselves, if we are divided amongst ourselves, we are not going anywhere. And they have made sure that at every corner that you go into, I'm not saying alcohol is bad, but you find alcohol for the youth. You will find good Afro music for the youth. You will find Amapiano for the youth, but you will never find opportunities. They have already relegated us to the economic dungeons, wherein they are saying the youth are not focused, but they are forgetting that this, what we are facing, is them who created it, because they were busy amassing wealth for themselves. As the youth, we are supposed to be ideologically oriented and grounded. What I mean by ideologically grounded is if you choose to identify as a capitalist, you should know the ethos of a capitalist. If you choose to identify as a communist or a socialist, you should know the ethos of socialism and communism, so that you are not shaken when they come and approach you. It's said that the youth, we unite and fight each other because of what we call generational jealousy. We do not want to see the next youth prospering. But look at the Commonwealth leaders, or those who led Commonwealth countries at independence. Look at their age. They were youth, most of them. It's said that they forgot that they've run out of their youthism. They still consider themselves youths even in their 80s, some of them. The only time they say, we're old people is when they are trying to fight the youth. And I believe the youth, we should support each other. We might not have the resources. But if I'm to hear that Comrade Fatima here is running for public office, or she's doing philanthropic work, or she's doing something, I think the youth, we should rally behind her and support her, no matter which country she's coming from, no matter which race, which creed, which religion. We should not be divided on basis of religion, class, social strata, because already what unites us is our age. So as the youth, we are supposed to be united, push forward, and fight together so that we can get where we are going. Thank you, comrades.
Thank you very much, sir. That was really, really insightful. And I wish it would be longer and longer than that. But thank you very much. This is more. I don't know if we have any questions from the audience, but I would definitely like to ask questions. So, but let me start from the audience. Please, if you have any, all right. Comrade Tasiu, please go ahead and mute your mic.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade, for your very insightful and how can I describe it? Like you are trying to inject a particular spirit in us. So the question I would like to ask is, how do you come about the issue of democratization of student organizations, particularly on campus? Because I have to say that we have come to a time where youth, let me say students associations on campus, ranging from the student union, government, faculty associations, are running a system whereby those that leaders, the lecturers, can actually tell who is going to lead the student without allowing the students to democratically, exercise their right and choose who their leaders become. This is becoming a worrisome reality. I can count quite a number of universities in Nigeria where there is nothing like election for the student union government. So what can you say about that? And how do you think as students, we can be able to come up with something to stop this from further happenings? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Tasi, for the question. So I believe that this system might have started during COVID. Confirm. Comrade Tasi.
Sir?
Confirm that this thing of not having elections started during COVID-19.
Sorry, sir, I can't hear you. I beg your pardon.
When did this system of not having elections start?
It has been happening for a long time, even though, let me just set example,
Yes.
that there is a particular university, though they allow election to hold. But the problem is that the students elected into power exploits the power at their disposal, which compelled the school management to opt to options where they just appoint who they like to be part of the student union. So I have to say that at times it was the youth, the students, that are doing things that are not as expected, which compel the university to opt into an option where they choose those whom they think they trust to lead the students.
Okay, so first things first, I believe in the 3Ds. So the first D is diplomacy. We go and engage on basis of what the student's constitution says, right? In alignment with the national constitution. So if the students' union constitution states that there are supposed to be elections, they cannot handpick leaders because leaders are not handpicked. Students have to decide on who they want to lead. That's number one. So the next deal would be debating on whether the system that they are using is right or the one that is in the constitution. Failure to do so now, the two Ds might fail. Then we employ the third D, which is demonstrations. Please, comrades, don't go and incite violence, but go and give students insight of what is happening. So, what I mean is, you go and tell the students the advantages and disadvantages of not having elected a student representative council or a student government, right? One of the disadvantages of not electing one is you cannot hold someone to account, someone that you did not vote for. Someone who was handpicked and appointed by the university tends to try and please those who appointed them. Because Thomas Sankara says, the hand that feeds you controls you. So if someone is being handpicked to lead the students, they are going to be controlled by those who appointed them because they are afraid of being disappointed. You understand? So push for amendments in constitutions. It's not only in Nigeria where this is happening. Most countries stopped having elections during COVID. I'll give you an example of the university that I was in back in Zimbabwe, Chino University of Technology. When I was supposed to become the president of the Student Representative Council, they banned elections for that year, 2020. 2021, they suspended me from school. I had to employ the first D, that is diplomacy, and then engage them that, okay, comrades, you know what? Maybe I can come and write exams without attending lectures. They agreed to that. For the first semester of my final year, every time that I got onto campus, they had to assign a security guard to walk with me everywhere I go. Yeah, maybe they were afraid that something would happen for me, so they had to provide safety for me. I understand them that student leaders at times they are in danger, so they had to provide security for us. It only got worse in the final semester where they said that you cannot write your exams on campus wherein you meet other students. All your exams are going to be written at a distant campus. So you write with all your class, but you cannot meet other students. And the moment that I got to the town where my university was, I was arrested. And they said, you are here to cause havoc. I had to explain to them, you know what? I'm just here to write my exams, and I won't incite public violence. If there's anything, I'm going to give students insights on their social welfare, how the admin is running the university poorly. So you have to go and engage the administration through the dean of students. You outline what you think. During my time, what I would also do is, if there's a document that I'm disputing, I would write a counter document so that when I go to them, I would make it seem as if it's a basic conversation. When they now say you should go and write, I then say, you know what? I actually have the document. Here it is. So you present to them a counter already because they think that students are never ready. So show them that you are professional and you are actually ready to execute whatever you have in mind. I hope I have answered you, Comrade Tas.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. So I have one question, although we are at the end of the session, but can I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
All right, sir. A while ago in Nigeria, the youth came out and demonstrated, their anger for what was happening, and all of the sessions ended in violence. Like they were being shot, tear gas. So how can, like, even if we start peaceful protests, it always ends up bloody. So is there any other way to, prevent the government or the leaders in government from actually harming peaceful protestants? Whatever starts peaceful, they always end it bloody.
So one thing is you can never control the temper and the tempo of a demonstration. It might start peaceful, but you never know what the next person is thinking, right? And I understand the fears of being shot and everything, but one Bobby Wine says a revolutionary should conquer his fear or her fear of death and their love for money. So during I remember, if you guys are privy with what's happening in Africa, 2018, soon after the elections of Zimbabwe, we went into the streets, people were shot, people died. But then it's difficult to get change without losing some of our comrades. It's casualty of war. That's why I then said you engage peacefully first. And when peaceful engagement doesn't go well, you demonstrate. And always remember, comrades, we know the police people who are shooting at us. We know them personally. They are people from our neighborhoods. So if they bring violence to us, one Albert Einstein says, pardon me for the little physics that I did, he says, for every action, there's an equal amount of reaction. And please bear with me. The only time peace comes before violence is in the dictionary. Even the great United Nations sends soldiers for peacekeeping. So if we try to be peaceful and they start shooting at us, comrades, let's take a step back. Let's go and regroup. We know these police people, we know their addresses, we know their day to day lives. Let's engage in the same manner that they're engaging us with. I'm not advising you to beat people, but if they beat us, we do the same. We know their houses. We know if by any chance any of us has got a car or a house, don't give them transportation, don't give them houses to live in. Because they themselves are saying that they are fine with the system. So they should live according to the system. So if they are coming to support the government of Tinubu in harassing the youth, they can as well go and stay with Tinubu. I hope I have answered you.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much. I don't think there are any questions. Please, if you have any question, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. We are way past the scheduled time already.
Yeah, I think Tasiu has a question.
Yes.
Please, please bear with me. I still need to ask another question.
Yeah.
Comrades, so let's talk about ourselves as the youth, because another problem that is also coming up is that we ourselves, most of us, are not leading by example. How do you think as youth we are going to solve that problem? Because like I mentioned, there was an election that was held, but there was an internal wrangle between the executives and the student representative assembly, which led to the suspension of the president elected. So it is constitutionally allowed that when there is such fight between executives and the student representative assembly, the management can come into it and dissolve the both of them. So that's what's happening. So how do you think we can be able to engage these fellow young people to lead by example? Because failure to do so is also making the people in authority very paranoid of giving us the power. Thank you very much.
Right. So we go back to what I was saying. Conscientization of the youth. Let's understand where we are going. In politics, we don't have permanent friends, we don't have permanent enemies, but we have permanent interests. Try and find the interests of those you're opposing with, who are also youth, so that you map a way forward. That's the only way. Understand where they are coming from. Put yourself in their feet and see how best you can engage them. And if you ever reach a common ground. Thank you. Are there any more questions?
I think that's all for now. We will go ahead and wrap up the session. Thank you very
Okay.
much for being here. This has been an insightful session. I had never looked at things from that manner. I've always been about, enduring and finding other ways around it, but not exactly tackling it. So, like the Comrade Tasiu said, this has really given us a new perspective. Like, there's this energy that you shared with us, and I hope it doesn't die anytime soon. Thank you very much for this amazing session, sir. So, for those that joined late, let me give a summary of. I wrote a bit of things that really stood out with me during your presentation, and you talked about how students are the center of the struggle and the center of the revolutionization. You talked about our war, although our war might not be against a different people. We're not fighting colonialism, but it is against a people of different age, right? So we have to think about innovative ways to tackle ageism, innovative ways to make money, to lead, and even do businesses. And you talked about how an uneducated youth is a potential criminal. And I'm very sure that most of us here are scholars, so we don't have problem with that. And we should fight ideas, not individuals, except if an individual is being used to portray, a bad idea. And youth unionism in Hausa, I'm Hausa by tribe. So there's this thing we say: when you take a single broom, you can break it very easily. But when that broom is united, when you have 100 or 150 of those brooms, it is almost impossible for a person to break that broom. So that is what youth unionism should be, right? We should unite ourselves because we have a common interest, we have a common age, we have a lot of things in common. Yes, so like I said, when a broom is single, it can be easily broken, but when it is united, it's almost impossible. You might end up causing harm to the people that are trying to break you up. So once again, sir, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, and we hope that when we invite you very soon, you will still honor our invitation and come on. So I hope this session inspires every one of us to take action, no matter how small. Leadership is not always as big as it is. It could be as small as protecting the honor of your friend, a youth, standing up for what you think is wrong. It can be very, very small. Impact doesn't have to be big at an instant. It can start small, and raindrops are what make up the ocean. So yes, thank you very much, sir, for having us. It was really an insightful session, and thank you everyone for being here. I hope you learned a thing or two, and that the energy was spread across your veins as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.